The Education Quality Assurance Body, Umalusi, has given the green light for the 2022 end-of-year exams for matrics. The Council has also warned schools to have alternative plans in place in case load shedding interferes with the writing of exams. For more on this, let's speak to SADTU General Secretary Mugwena Maluleke, who's actually with me in studio tonight. A very good evening to you, sir. Welcome. Will this be the easiest, do you think, set of exams to administrate post the lockdowns?
Good evening to you, Tembekile, and good evening to your viewers at home. This would not be one of those easiest examinations to administer. There have been quite a number of problems as it relates to the time that our students have lost. So it's not going to be easy. It may be easy logistically to arrange, administer, and do all the other sides. But for our learners psychologically and our teachers, it's not the easiest. It's going to be one of the most difficult examinations for our children.
And for many of the children sitting for matric this year, they would have been in lockdown in 2020, 2021, grade 10, grade 11, which are crucial grades. Do you think we will see for the first time in the results how much the FET phase, I think that's what it's called, that's what it was called in my day, was impacted in terms of that loss of learning time?
Yes, indeed. We are going to see for the first time the actual impact of the COVID-19 on these particular learners, because they were in grade 10. And grade 10 was not treated like grade 11 in 2020, 2021. So they have lost a lot of time. We are back to almost like 2015 in terms of the losses in time. So, however, we have seen how the teachers have put more efforts, working over weekend, working after school, and so forth, even during the holidays. Hence, we have to really acknowledge their efforts and thank them for really sacrificing their families in order to put our students first.
I'm going beyond the upcoming exams for a moment here and going to January next year when we will get the results. A lot is often said in the analysis of the results and how well people have done. Do you think that the impact of the pandemic in these 2 years will then require us perhaps to read them differently, considering that these are children who would have lost time in 3 grades ultimately?
We have to read them differently in January 2023, precisely because these orthodox of assessment has not been assisting us, and we have always been saying we have got to change the assessment methodologies. We have got to change some of these old methodologies that have been there just to be test and driven and so forth. So we have got to employ different lens of how we see the results. In particular, we should not be looking at the average increases. We should look at the quality part of the examination, and that's where we should be concentrating on whether these particular learners will then be able to have the same opportunities as the other learners before when they go to a higher education institution, further education and training, colleges, and so forth.
The issue of load shedding, the power cuts from Eskom, has not been a massive problem for education because most of the schooling happens during the day. Umalusi, though, said that schools need to make sure that there are backups in place in the event of load shedding. To my mind, I then went to computer application technology when that exam comes around. Are public schools in this country sufficiently prepared for that?
Well, as far as the report that was presented by Mwalusi, it indicated that the schools will be prepared and there are contingency plans that have been put in place, especially that the schools that are offering CAD would have got to be having some generators in case on that particular day electricity is going to be cut off as part of the load shedding. So indeed, the schools are ready for that. But obviously, the details we'll see during the examination on how far we have been prepared together with the Department of Education. But we believe that that's got to be taken into account. You cannot afford to have a psychological impact on a learner who has lost time and when he or she is writing, still experiencing some kind of a disturbance.
And the problem for this cohort, and I suppose in other years as well, but it's worsened, especially in recent months, these power cuts ongoing in the country at the moment. I mean, tonight, it's a Saturday, but we've got stage 2 load shedding. And if a matriculant was hoping to study, they would have lost 2 hours of study time in the evening.
Yes, it's more than the 2 hours they lose, because at the end of the day is that it's about emotions, about your psychological preparedness that you do. So when you are busy putting energy and efforts into what you are doing, and all of a sudden the cut in electricity, it is not only that you are going to recover after 2 hours, you may recover after 4 hours. So indeed, I want to agree with you that these learners in particular have really been impacted. We just want to hope that ESCOM can review this load shedding in particular and treat schools as one of those particular critical sites that do not deserve to have these particular cuts.
Malusi also flagged another recurring issue around matric exams, that of cheating and the leaking of exam papers. In some instances where the cheating teachers have been involved. Are there enough controls in place, do you think, to prevent that occurrence? Because you were just talking about the anxiety that a pupil suffer. When a paper is leaked and it's been written, often everyone else has to go through the horror of either rewriting, or even if you're a best performer, you then have your mark then calculated on a different basis, whereas you could have just written and got the mark you deserve.
Yeah, it's one of those particular chronic issues that we have got to address, and we believe that the Department of Education has been not too soft on these particular people who have been selling papers. And group copying is something that really we want to urge our teachers not to be involved in those particular things, including our students. We do not believe that the integrity of the examination should suffer, because this is one of those particular moment where the parents are happy to have a graduate in their families who will then have to continue, and therefore to be part of any news that there was cheating in a particular school, it does create more problem. We believe that the department has security in place, and they have trained the teachers who will be supervising to ensure they're not tempted to be part of that particular thing.
Lastly, recently there was an indication that you as SADTU were willing to accept the latest public sector wage offer from government. I think it was 3% at the moment when you were holding your Congress 2-3 weeks ago. As things stand, how real is the possibility of a teacher strike during the matric exams?
Well, our members have indicated that in totality we need to look at the offer in totality and not the 3%, because that is a narrative that is gaining momentum as if there is no any other thing that is there. We have got the 1,000 after taxation, which no one has ever received before in terms of the normal increases, but also we have reinstated the 1.5% of pay progression and the 3%, and therefore our members have indicated that they are willing to accept that. But if there's more that we can receive, will be more willing to engage and get more of that, and therefore they have not been balloted for a strike as for now, so we don't know of any possibility that can be there be a strike by the teachers, because we have not balloted them. They have indicated very clear that they are willing to accept it. However, as I'm saying, we continue to engage.
And the other teachers' unions, what about them?
All the other teachers' unions have indicated that they will be accepting all of them.
All right. Mr. Mugwena Maluleke, good to speak to you.
Thanks.
From SADTU, the Teachers Union. Let's move on to some other news tonight.